Good morning and welcome to Cancun here in Mexico. I arrived yesterday evening around supper time and just used the evening to get settled. And yeah, I'm here for just a few days. I was sort of on the fence about coming to Cancun because I'm not really much of a, high-end hotel resort, all-inclusive kind of guy. And that's obviously what Cancun is primarily known for. So I'm here for just a couple days just to check it out. Check out the other part of Cancun, really, the locals side. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to have a look down here today at Mercado 28, or 28, which is the largest sellers market, or vendors market, if you will, in all of Mexico, I believe. And so we're just going to take a walk through. I'm going to look for a few things today, maybe try and pick up a few souvenirs. Let's see what's in here. I'm sure I will get stopped at every vendor looking to show me their store and try and sell me stuff, but I have a goal in mind, and I figure if anywhere is going to have backpack patch in all of Mexico, this will be the place to do it. So let's take a walk through and see what we can find.
11 minutes later.
Well, I was gonna recommend that I come here and find a Mexican backpack patch, and I did, but they wanted 150 pesos for it, which is like 10 or 12 bucks, and I mean they're a $2 or $3 item. So the fact that he wouldn't even bargain beyond 150 was just, I'd like to get one here, but I can just buy one online for $2 or $3. So that's really disappointing. I did see some other things. I may have a look at some smaller stuff, like some keychains and magnets and stuff, because that stuff's all pretty cheap. And I've seen some for like 4 for 100 pesos. So that's like 4 for like $6 for some stuff. So those types of things, I guess, will be my target for today. Because finding that patch for 150 was just, as we would say in English, I'm gobsmacked at that price. So anyway, let's keep going. Good morning from another day here in Cancun. Today we are off to the tourist zone, hotel zone, if you want to call it. We're going to hop on the bus here. There's a Mayan Museum out in the tourist zone that I wanted to check out. Apparently it's quite impressive to see. And there's also some ruins there as well, which will be kind of interesting. So Cancun itself, as a city, or as it's known today, has only really been around since 1970. Prior to that, it was essentially nothing more than a coconut plantation. And in 1970, some big hotel chains decided to open up a series of hotels here, and thus the tourist industry and tourist city of Cancun became to what it is today. We're going to head over to the bus stop and check it out. It's definitely a tale of two cities. There's the tourist zone, which is very distinctly far away from the rest of the city where many locals live. But for me, as a essentially backpacker, solo, traveling across the country, this is much more the part of the city that I'm interested in, where I've been staying over here, versus the all-inclusive resort type spots. So anyway, let's go over there and take a look. I will say one thing is that I've noticed that Cancun is very much a non-walkable city. You really kind of do need a car to get around here, or access to the buses and stuff. There's no subway or trams or any of that kind of stuff here, so you're reliant on either a vehicle of your own or the public bus, which is what we're going to take. So after about 30 minutes or so on the route number 1 bus out here to the hotel zone in Cancun, we've arrived at the, just put the walk up to the museum here. Nice ride over. This is definitely a whole different world of Cancun compared to the part where I'm at. This is all, big hotels, big brands. Lots of luxury, I'm sure. So just driving out here, it's impressive to see how much this place has grown up in basically 55 years, I suppose, in total. But there is some history here to be found in Cancun, and that's where we're headed now. So over here on the hotel zone, that actually is the location of the Mayan Museum that's here. So here we are at the National Museum of the Maya in Cancun. I think we're just going to head over this way to get into the entrance. So here's a diorama of the museum itself, and then the archaeological grounds outside as well. So I did confirm with him that you get 1 ticket. It was 95 pesos for both the museum as well as the ruins, so not too bad. So we'll come back to this part, go up to the museum first and have a little look. And as always, keep your tickets nearby. So you really get a sense here, seeing where I'm standing. I'm sort of at the far end of the line here in the tourist zone, but you can see that it continues up that way, and then over here along that edge it's all additional hotels and resorts that takes you sort of back up this way towards the main part of the city itself. See, even in Cancun I can find some interesting history to talk about. So sort of the first evidence of people living in this area here where Cancun is today was about 2000 BC. They found evidence of corn cultivation, beginnings of smaller villages in the area. Maya started in this area around 400 BC or so, and then by 300 BC had taken over full control basically of this area, and it became part of the larger Mayan Empire. Between 200 and 600 AD was when the Maya really were at the height.
No video.
Yo tengo boleto.
No, video no.
Sí.
No. No, video no. Solo foto.
No, I pagar 60 pesos. So the height of the Mayan Empire in this region was between 200 and 600 AD. And there's loads of culture and history that was here at the time. There were many large cities in the area, like Coba, Cancun obviously, and some others. And they all had a very unique style to this area, known as Peten style, I believe it's called. So this museum here is full of artifacts. I'll flip this around of the area between the classic period, pre-classic period, and post-classic period as well. So you can see here as an example with this bowl with the paint and design that was on it. You know, it's got the head of a bird at the top as part of the handle, and you know, quite intricate design and detail to it. And then of course you also find things like this, you know, facade decorations, things like faces and, you know, birds and masks and those types of things that were part of the front of buildings. And then you find these panels as well that had carvings into them of some of the Mayan alphabet, typically depicting stories. This one here is from between 600 and 850 AD. You can even see some of the red pigment that's still on the stone. There's a couple more examples here. So this one here is actually a monument to a person. So this one here, again, dated around the same time, 600 to 850 AD. You know, it's got the 4 Mayan symbols and some figures. So this would have represented probably a family name or names of individual persons, almost like a gravestone. And there's a relief carving of a nobleman that would have been here. All this stuff is, in this area at least, is all dated between 600 and 850 AD. The state of Quintana Roo was officially founded in 1902, when things like logging and gum extraction were here sort of as an industry. Some of the first scientific explorations began here around 1916 and continued for decades. Much of the area was then kind of cleaned out in the 20s and 30s to allow the town that was here to kind of grow. Since then, from the 50s through the 70s, more work was done to then preserve a lot of what was here. So we're going to go take a look at that a little bit, at some of the ruins that are still here and that have been uncovered and restored to what they are today. So here is a map of the Mayan area as it existed at their height. Now, through our trip, you know, we came down through here, we've come all the way up through Villa Hermosa, and then up through Campeche and Merida, and we're working our way across here now and down the other side. You know, ultimately we're going to go down through here. We're going to cross into Belize, and then into Guatemala, sort of where you get to the end of the Mayan Empire, down here near the current border, I guess, between Guatemala and El Salvador. This piece here is actually from Chichen Itza and shows a series of warriors, 6 of them in total, all unique across this relief. So here's another example of a piece from Chichen Itza, which we've already been to previously. This was actually an astronomical calendar. So each of the symbols would represent, you know, different times of the year, and different symbols would represent different alignments, those types of things. Just a huge piece here, probably 15 feet long and 6 or 7 feet high. So we've talked previously about the Mayan calendar and how it had 360 days, and it was 18 months of 20 days each. And then they had 5 what they call like leftover days, where they would basically prepare that disasters would occur during those 5 extra days of the year. The astronomical calendar for the Maya is actually 260 days long, 20 months of 13 days each. And so they would use that to track things like the moon and stars and alignments in the sky. And we know from all of the evidence how involved the Maya were in astronomy and using stars and planets to kind of figure out time of the year. So that was just a nice overview of the museum that's here in Cancun, and there's loads more to see there as well. I could have spent 2 hours in there just wandering around looking at the artifacts, but wanted to give you kind of a good overview of what's inside. Now we're going to head out back to the area that's the ruins and see what's here for I'm laughing because talking about the ruins, and then I look around and Here's just in the background is Hilton hotels and Emporio hotels and all these big chain hotels are probably just sitting on loads more stuff, unfortunately. Anyway, we'll head down to the archaeological zone of San Miguelito. I will say the museum here is well laid out for people who are looking to kind of get a brief understanding of the Mayan culture and the history in the area. Museum does a nice job of looking at stuff that's from here, has some items from other parts of the Mayan Empire, and then of course just at the bottom of this ramp we're going to get into the actual ruins of San Miguelito. You know, considering how busy it is out on that main road here, it's quite peaceful back here. So the archaeological site here at San Miguelito was named after a coconut plantation that stood here in the 50s, when Cancun was a small fishing village. The original name of the area is actually unknown, but it is confirmed that it was a major Mayan settlement during the late post-classical period of Mayan pre-Hispanic history, so from 1250 to 1550 AD. Along with the site of El Rey, San Miguelito was part of a large complex of temples, shrines, palaces, and houses made from wood and palm leaves, arranged along a road that ran parallel to the dune line that runs along the coast. These dunes, now occupied by hotel buildings, protected the inhabitants of the community of San Miguelito from hurricanes and erosion, as well as providing them with highly valuable plants and animals for their subsistence. In the 15th century, San Miguelito was part of the province known to historians as Ecab, or Black Earth in Mayan, ruled by several lineages. It says here that it was quite possibly, at one point, its own independent state within the Mayan Empire. So this area is what's known as the North Complex, residential area consisting of 5 structures. So you had the foundations, like the foundation that's still here, and then the home itself would have been built with palm and wood. Mentions here as well that the study of more than 20 graves located in the structures, most of which were small children, bear witness to the difficult life of the Mayan people in the 15th and 16th centuries, and the very high infant mortality rate resulting from these conditions. So here's the foundation of another one of the homes that was here. Talked about how there was 5 of them in the area. This little raised area here almost looks like it could be another one underneath all that bush that's there. And then there's another one here on the left as well. Quite large. Actually a series of 3 houses here as we walk around. So here's the other 3. So there's one here, second one here, and then the third one is over here as well. Good sized home. I could live in one of those. You can definitely hear the traffic on the road at this part because we're pretty close to the road here at this point. But it's nice that they've preserved what's here so that even as the rest of the island here grows up around it, this part here will be secure and remain safe. There's the main road here, however, in Cancun, along the hotel zone. To give you an idea just how close, you know, that to here is no more than 50 feet, I would say. So as I suspected, the long wall we walked past earlier is actually part of what's known as the Chalk Palace. And it's believed that this was probably an administration building at one point because it's got this open grounds here in front. It was built with multiple buildings, so there's the larger building here in the back, and then there was this smaller building here in front as well. It's believed that these buildings were constructed between the 13th and 16th centuries. And there's loads of iguanas here. Just walking by, and it's kind of how it was when I was up in Edna. If you saw that video, when I was there, and there was just loads of iguanas everywhere. Well, it's the same here. They're just all over the place. It's really great. So we are just here on the map to show you. So we've sort of completed the first loop. We started down here at the museum and walked up all the way around here, and now we're going to head down through the rest of these buildings. So this isn't really part of the site, but it's interesting there's a sign about it. So this well that's here was actually crafted in the 1950s, when this was still a plantation slash farm. So this well was used to supply water to the whole farm that was here, and probably used stones that they found from some of the existing ruins. So this next section is what's known as the Dragon Complex. There was a small square here. We're about to walk through the middle of it. It had shrines, an altar, and 2 houses, and was probably like a complete housing unit for a family. So there's probably what would have been a temple. Doesn't look like a house because of the way the walls are built into it. Area here. This has got a roof above it because you can see on the back side. I'll zoom in. You can see on the back side there's still some of the original paint and drawings on those walls. So we're just down here. We've made our way to what's known as the Southern Complex, or South Complex of buildings, which was another residential area but featured houses, temples, which we'll get over to in a minute, and just general, living quarters for the people that were here. You see that one there, it's got more of the walls and stuff still intact beyond just the foundation. House this big, $1 million today back home. And so here we are at the final stop on this trip here at El Miguelito, this temple pyramid, which has 6 steps to it in total. And then the top, of course, would have had the altar up there. This temple here and the other part of El Miguelito behind it may have actually been separate. So there's another place here called El Rey, or the King, which is another area that's currently closed. And some of the evidence points to this building actually being part of that complex based on its orientation. But again, just listening for a moment how quiet it is here now, even though we're not even that far from the road, which is over there. It's amazing how well the trees and stuff here do a job of kind of blocking all of that out. So that'll do it for the ruins here in Cancun at El Miguelito, along with the Mayan Museum. More to come from Cancun, along with some final thoughts. So I thought I would just do a quick room review of the place I stayed at here in Cancun. The name was Casona, Pueblo, Mágico on Booking, and for the most part it was good. I was a little confused when I got here because the room that I booked and the room that I got were different from the description. The guy working here said that the new owner or something, or the pictures were out of date or whatever. So I still have to follow up with booking on that, because you pay for one room and then get something different. Not great. But the room itself was fine for 3 nights. I'll flip this around here. So there was good air conditioning up on the wall, plus a big fan on the ceiling. So the room was never hot or anything, which was nice. Bed was all right. Pillows were so-so. In through here, there was a little storage area for clothes and things, and work desk here was good. Wi-Fi was very good, so that was nice. And then in through here was bathroom, which was good overall. No issues there. Shower was fine, and yeah. So overall, a good spot. It was here, sort of in the middle of Cancun, away from the tourist zone, out on the sandbar. But for, for 3 nights. It's fine. I'll put the price and information here on the screen. There's not a lot, or at least I didn't find anyway, a lot of, reasonably priced places in Cancun to stay in, if you're just passing through for a few days or whatever. So this place was fine. It was okay. It was good. But again, the mix up, because the room that I had booked was supposed to have a little kitchen, refrigerator, a little dining area and stuff. And I never got that. So I'm not sure if that room was full by somebody else or if that room was no longer available. But it's still listed on their booking page. So not sure. If I have any extra details by the time this video goes up, I'll put a note here on the screen. But otherwise, it was fine for 3 nights for sleeping before I move on to my next location. So, some final thoughts on Cancun itself. Overall, I can't really recommend coming to Cancun if you're traveling the way that I am, or some friends of mine are as well. I think that Cancun is kind of uniquely qualified as a destination place for all-inclusive hotels out in the tourist zone. I think that the infrastructure in the city doesn't really allow one to be able to confidently use buses and things to get around the city. There are lots of colectivos, and there are some larger buses, but there's no bus maps really that I could find. Wasn't a lot of information online in terms of how to get around, other than that the R1 and R2 buses go out to the tourist zone from downtown. But getting around town, you kind of have to be really familiar with the local colectivos, or ask people for that. They were cheap. It was 12 pesos to ride any bus for any length. So from where I am to the museum yesterday, for example, that was almost 45 minutes, and it was still just 12 pesos each way. So in that way, I guess it's good, but you really do need to have your own rental car if you're going to try and travel around the city a little bit, or if you're here as an all-inclusive on the resort, you're just going to stay there anyway for the most part. So I know that my friend Matt, who is No Soy Rubio on YouTube, was also here a couple months back, and he warned me at the time. He's like, he wasn't a fan of Cancun either, and I would echo his sentiments that it's just a big city that looks and feels very American at times. Is specifically designed for fly-in tourists who really aren't going to go too far beyond here. They might go a short stint or go on a tour or something like that, but in terms of Cancun being a place for backpackers or short-term travelers, it's really not much of a place for you to come. So it's interesting because in comparison to Holbox Island, which I completely fell in love with, this is sort of on the other end of that scale, I guess, for me, and maybe partially due to the fact of how much I enjoyed Holbox Island itself. I don't know, but I think that in the end, if you're going to come to Mexico and you're looking to explore, parts of the country or different areas of the country, I would say use Cancun as your fly-in location, because typically flights in and out of Cancun are cheaper because there's so many of them. But beyond that, I wouldn't stick around the city itself for very long. I would look at, heading up to the west, heading over towards Valladolid and Chichen Itza, and then beyond there to Merida, and then down through Campeche and those types of places. Or from here, do what I'm doing and heading south from here. So, I'm leaving today on a bus to my next destination, and continuing down the coast through Playa del Carmen, Tulum. Anyway, that's going to do it from Cancun. Thank you so much for watching my videos, as always. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment below to let me know that you were here. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that as well. Every subscription matters to me, and I appreciate every time I see new subscribers have joined my page. And remember, life is short. wander. I'll see you in the next video.